Development Committee. Oops. Do you want me to do that again?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that again. Just a practice round. So welcome everybody. It is June 25th, 2025. This is the Building, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee. Please call the meeting to order and give us a roll call, please.
Chairperson Mike Seville.
Present?
Vice Chair Patty Smith.
Here.
Alderman Javier Bañuelos.
Here.
Alderwoman Juani Garza.
Here.
Alderman at Large Will White.
Here.
5 present.
Okay, the approval of minutes is the first item.
So moved.
25-0508, approval of the minutes from the BZ&E Committee held on June 11th, 2025, moved by Alderwoman Patty Smith, second by Alderwoman Garza. Any corrections, additions, or deletions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried, 5-0. Do we have any members of the public wishing to give comment?
We do not.
Okay, we'll move on to the agenda then. The first item I'll read, actually they're related, so I'll read both of them. 25-0511, a resolution approving the final plat for lots 1 to 62 of Harvest Point subdivision on vacant land located east of Redden Road and north of Butterfield Road. And then 25-0512, a resolution approving a final plan on Harvest Point subdivision located east of Redden Road and north of Butterfield for a one-family dwelling use. Jill, welcome.
Good afternoon, Jill Morgan, Senior Planner. I will just briefly introduce the project, and then we do have the petitioners here who have a short presentation for you.
Thank you.
So as you might recall, this became before the City Council on a rezoning, I believe about 2 months ago. It was rezoned from R1C, one family dwelling district with a conditional use being part of the Marmion Academy plan description, to R2C, one family dwelling district, known as 1C, Conservation Open Space and Drainage District, all with a conditional use being part of the new Harvest Point sub-plan description. The petitioner is requesting a final plan and plat for lots 1 through 62 of Harvest Point subdivision for a one-family dwelling district use. There will be 59 single-family homes ranging in size from 2,300 to 3,800 square feet, 3 to 6 bedrooms, all with at least a two-car garage and two spaces in the driveway. We did work, the final plan is consistent with the approved preliminary. You did see some draft elevations at the time of preliminary. Those are consistent, slightly changes, some additional masonry, and some additional options were added as well. The landscape plan, we worked really hard with petitioner early on to make sure we get some good berming across Radiant Road and along the southern property line as well. And the eastern property that abuts the neighboring subdivision is mostly all detention. Is there any questions for staff before I hand over the petitioner for the presentation?
Any questions of the committee? Okay, you may proceed.
Oops.
Thank you, Jill. Good evening, or good afternoon, I should say. My name is Eric Prechtel. I'm with Rosanova and Whitaker, 445 Jackson Avenue, Suite 200, Naperville. I'm here this afternoon on behalf of the petitioner, Pulte Home Company. I'm here with me also is Matt Brawley, who is the Division Director of Entitlements at Pulte. As Jill mentioned, we were here first back in April for preliminary approvals, which were ultimately unanimously approved by the City Council on April 22nd. So this afternoon, we're happy to be back in front of you presenting the final plan and final plat for Harvest Point. I know that most of you are familiar with Pulte, but for those of you who are not, Pulte is a publicly traded home building company. They've been building homes in the Chicagoland market for over 50 years now. They're the third largest home builder in the U.S. and Chicago, and have had the top selling community in the Chicagoland area for the last 5 years running. Locally, Pulte has maintained a steady presence in Aurora, building a wide variety of different home and product types. Pulte communities include Meadow Ridge, Oralton Place, the Deerbrook, Lincoln Prairie, Lincoln Crossing, and most recently, Eola Preserve. Moving on to the subject property and the surrounding uses, Harvest Point is planned in the area shown here in red. As you know, Lennar was here about a month ago and received approvals for its Abbey Meadows townhome subdivision in the area highlighted in yellow just to the south of the proposed Harvest Point. To the east, you'll see the townhomes of Savannah Crossing, and then Kirkland Farms, single-family detached residential subdivision, and then to the west are the vineyards, and then, of course, Marmion Academy, who is the contract seller for the property. As far as the site plan goes, Pulte is proposing 59 single-family detached homes on approximately 21 acres. Just a few things I'd like to highlight with regards to the site design. There will be 2 full access points along Redant Road. You'll note that the access points have been aligned with the existing subdivisions west of Redant Road to minimize vehicular conflict on the roadway. And then a standalone left turn lane in is planned for the south entrance to the subdivision. Significant landscaping will be provided to the south, east, and west to provide separations between the land uses. In addition to the landscaping that's proposed, there will be 3 open water stormwater detention basins, and then 1 wetland bottom basin, which will create the additional buffering between the existing and proposed subdivisions. With regards to the homes themselves, the lots are designed to accommodate Pulte's Meadows series of home. For comparison, these can be seen in the Lincoln Crossing subdivision on the south side of Aurora. We're offering 6 different floor plans, each having between 4 and 7 elevations for a total of 30 unique building elevations or options. All homes will be 2-story. They will come standard with a basement. Square footages range from 2,400 to 3,800 square feet. 3 to 6 bedrooms, as Jill mentioned, depending on buyer preference and individual needs. And then 2-car garages are standard with the option to upgrade to a 3-car garage. Shown here are just sample renderings of the homes. You'll see the common characteristics among each elevation, but with architectural components that vary based upon the style of home. So for example, some have shutters, some don't have shutters. There are varying gable heights, the amount and type of the wainscot provided, some stone, some is brick. You'll see a variety in siding, whether it's vertical, horizontal, or shaker shingle, and then differing styles and size of the front porch and entryway. One thing I would like to note here is just, I would like to highlight Pulte's Energy Efficiency Initiative. This includes Energy Star and International Energy Conservation Code compliance. These both focus on energy efficiency in new homes, emphasizing high-performance HVAC systems, insulation, and air sealing. So for example, Pulte uses the low E-glass windows, which are double-paned. They have an argon gas filling, and then they're also coated with a special material that reflects sun and heat to help with the insular qualities of the home. In addition, with regards to EV or electrical vehicle and then solar panel compatibility, certain infrastructure is provided standard with the home. So for example, the conduit that would serve a future EV charging station would be located in the home, and then there will be adequate panel capacity that would also come standard if a homeowner should choose to want solar panels or an electric vehicle charging station. So that's really all I have as far as presentation goes, which brings me back to the reason we're here this evening, which is requesting approval of a final plan and final plat. Given that they are in substantial conformance with those approved at preliminary, we would request a positive vote this evening. Thank you, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, Pulte?
I do believe you told, excuse me, may I ask a question?
Please do.
I do believe you shared with us before the price point, the range?
So we're estimating an average sale price of about $590,000.
Average, so it could go as high as,
It could go
like
as
a
high as,
6-bedroom would go.
it would be in the 6s.
So lowest would be
Lowest would be $490,
490
midpoint
in the
$590,
okay,
and then
okay.
high end would be in the 6s.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Alderwoman Smith, second by Alderwoman Garza. Any further questions or discussion? And what is the average lot size?
7,000 square feet.
The average is?
That's the standard lot size. Average lot size here, 7,900.
7,900?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. And when are you looking to break ground and complete?
Break ground as soon as we close on the property, which would be as soon as possible, and then go vertical later this year or later this summer.
And completing
Completing in 2030, 3 years.
2030?
So 2020, 3 years would be 2028.
Okay. Great. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. That was the first one, 25-0511. That's the final plat. Anything to add about the final plan, Joe?
No.
Anything
So
more to
moved.
ask? Been moved by Alderwoman Smith, second by Alderman Garza. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried, 5-0. Okay, thank you.
We need to get Jill a little step ladder so we can see her face.
Like way down and then-
I can just see the top of your head.
Okay, so that brings us to the next item then, number 3 on the agenda, 25-0406, an informational discussion on the upcoming ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Aurora Code of Ordinances, titled Buildings and Building Regulations to adopt the 2024 I-Series of codes and recommended amendments. Mr. John Curley. I guess it's informational. I don't know. Yeah, it was weird. Me neither.
It's just a second. Presentation's coming up. Josh Ream, Director of Development Services for the City of Aurora. I also have with John Curley, Chief Development Services Officer, and then Jesse Kohler, our Director of Building and Permits, just for everything reference while this comes up. There we go. I think some of you have already had to sit through parts of this, so I appreciate your patience as we go through it some more. Again, it's just informational only. We already went through all these in wrap, and we're going to go back through with COW and also City Council through all of this. So what we're looking to do is adopt the 2024 I-Series of codes. It's the International Code Council standard. The overall purpose kind of here we're looking for is we want to maintain our standards of building construction throughout the city. Right now we're operating under 2015, so a little bit older. This is going to help better reflect current building technologies, practices, things like that have been adopted over the last almost decade, since we're obviously getting a little bit behind. And it also gives us an opportunity to walk through with people in the community, our committees, staff, go through all the things that may need to change, update with ordinances to make sure that it's still functioning how it's intended, or if stuff's already in the code now, there's no reason to have it in an ordinance and muddy that water, so can we do some cleanup and stuff like that? And it's also going to help us reduce some development costs by getting more in line with other neighboring communities, so it's easier for people that are developing to go from city to city, kind of with that same idea of how construction should be done. And we want to maintain our ISO rating. We are presently the lowest rated ISO, which is the best you can do. It's think golf scores. We want as low a number as possible. We are presently at 2. We are the only community in the state with that, and we're looking to maintain that rating. We're getting up to our evaluation period, so we need to get it done in order to maintain that. And what that helps do is it reduces insurance costs for any construction occurring, stuff like that, on new buildings.
Could I interrupt?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Why are the communities not as good as we are? What are they not doing correctly?
It's maybe not that they're not doing correctly. I mean, if, let me even go back. That's a good question, Alderman Seville. So, let's see if it'll, I'm going to give it a second, make sure it didn't see it already.
And can I add to that question?
Yeah,
Please.
sure.
And then could you please explain a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So on that chart there, you're seeing at the bottom, there's like a 1. No one's actually a 1. Then us is a 2. And there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The dark blue columns are commercial and light blue columns are residential. And if we blow it up a little more, sorry, there's percentages of communities at that rating level. So right there, the highest average rating is a 4, for instance, both at commercial and residential. So what this takes into account is, first thing, what codes we're under. So this insurance scoring index wants to make sure that we're as up to date as possible. We're not using outdated codes and standards. A great example we've used as part of this is a couple of years ago, There was a real bad tornado south of us. I can't remember the city, but it wiped out a Walmart area and other stuff like that. And it's part of the reason the state, and part of the reason the state is changing some code items is because communities are so far behind. They're using like early 1990 standards for things like wind speed, structural integrity and stuff like that, that are way outdated
Wow.
and don't protect the community, the building, stuff like that. So the first key component is where we're at as far as our code adoption level is.
Can I
Next-
ask a question right
Yeah.
there before you go too far? Do you mind?
Please do.
So with that, if we were on the 2015 codes, we were considered to be up to date?
Yes, when we last did the evaluation, that was like in 16 to 18, somewhere in there, Jay? Yeah, so we were at the cusp of code adoption the last time we got our evaluation and everything like that. And that's part of our reason is we're having to evaluate and then also go into some state requirements that are already in place that we're a little behind on. This is going to help us again get to that most recent adoption. So when they do evaluate us, they see us as the most code compliant or as close as you could be. The other components to this is one, it looks at staffing and our certifications through the International Code Council. Our city staff, if you exclude Chicago, is the most certified staff in the whole state. We right now have one master code professional. We're about to get 2 more. Just like everyone on staff is certified in their areas or multiple areas. So for instance, building inspectors, electrical inspectors, and plumbing, all kind of certified in their area. Our master code professionals or our combo ones have multiple trades that they're certified in, both residential and commercial. This means they've gone through training, they've passed exams that are all done by the International Code Council, the nationally recognized kind of group that does all this, pass those tests, and then they're continuing to do continuing education, seminar credits to maintain those certifications in those areas. Another component that part of the ISO looks at is our rate of or quantity of inspections. So they basically have a meter or gauge about how many inspections can someone do effectively in a day, right? Like we could send somebody out on 40 inspections, but that means they're just driving by and doing a Roman thumbs up, thumbs down or something like that. So having enough staff on hand so we can effectively handle a quantity of inspections. Right now, I think we're usually running about 14 is what we allow, roughly 12 to 14 a day, so that it averages out roughly to 20 to 30 minutes of time in order to do those inspections. That partially factors in our city size, so travel distance, and then also hopefully in a lot of cases, the way we've set up our inspection areas, that inspectors are going to probably be at multiple inspections at the same location.
Josh,
Yeah.
how many inspectors do we have?
Right now, we're at 13.
So 13 are doing 14 each?
Yes, roughly. So, and we're not full, don't let me give you the impression that we're full every day. So it's not like we're running out 144 or 150 inspections a day, but we're averaging around 100, I think, right now. Yeah.
And they're all done efficiently, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
so, and it's part of our system that John has put in place over the years that we continue to implement and update for automatic response on all of those. So as results get done, they're automated in our system, emails go out, notifications for responses and all of that. So people aren't waiting for us to write up stuff, post things on a building or something like that. It's an immediate response to all that. So all those components kind of jive together for them to then evaluate and give us a score based on our qualifications, speed and efficiency in which we do it, the workload, and then kind of what score we're on.
And before 2018, where were we?
I think we were a 4 before?
And when did we achieve, how long were we at a 4? How far back does this go?
Yeah, we were at a 4 for both residential and commercial. That we bumped up to a 2 in 18. We achieved a 4 in 20. Let's see, it would have been the 2009 adoption when we completed it in 2010, but our evaluation was in it might have been 12. No, that's too soon. It would have been like 2011 probably.
20 2011, we were when? We were how high?
We were a 4.
A 4. So that's still not too bad, a 4.
No, the average in the state is 6. If you look at that graph again, what that's really telling you is the people that are in 9 and 10, they just are not, they're in outdated codes. They may also have unqualified staff, unqualified according to the standard that the insurance ISO is applying. But all of those communities are in outdated codes. And what this all boils down to is federal emergency response after disasters. That's what's pushing this entire industry, our industry, which frankly is slow to change, and trying to drag us all into more current codes and a more standard qualification and expectation of staff expertise and staying on top of things with continuing education.
When you came to the city, what number were we?
We were 9.
9. So this is because of
That's
your
back in
leadership and
2000.
staff.
It
And
was in 2003 or 2. Yes.
9.
Yes.
Oh, good to
And we were
know.
in outdated codes at the time. We
Yeah.
were just trying to adopt the 2000 code at that time.
Well, thank you to you and your staff for doing this.
And we have, I do want to stress that, the staff has achieved a level, and Josh mentions Chicago. Because Chicago has so many employees, they may have more certified inspectors, the number of certified inspectors that we have, but per capita, you have to go to Grand Rapids, Michigan. Michigan has a mandatory state requirement of certification, or you have to go to no, it's Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines,
So
okay.
between those two cities, which both have state mandates, we are it. We are the best in the state, and the reason we've achieved that is trying to stay up on the codes and the engagement and our staff's willingness to try and be the best.
That's great.
May I-
We appreciate you, yes.
How do we boast about this? I mean, this is something we're sitting here talking about
What-
today. How do we boast as a community, as a city, that
Yeah.
we have this wonderful rating?
What this means to our constituents is we fall into a better underwriting category for insurance. So where you would find this affecting our constituents directly is in insurance rates for structures that are built after we achieved each of these milestones, or these better milestones along the way. And the other thing I guess I would stress is the way the insurance underwriting works is it takes the first 3, so 1, 2, and 3 are the same underwriting category. So we happen to be the best, but to be honest, there are, I can't read
I think it's
that
like
number.
10%, or like 9.8.
There are other communities that are benefiting from the same underwriting benefit. So, and then there's a middle. I think there's a middle category, and then there's a low. But this would be best explained by someone in the insurance industry. And we've gotten, like somebody from Conan Insurance. Were you here yet?
Yeah.
Was expressing how appreciative they were when we had achieved the score that we had and bumped out of the middle category and into the better category and what that meant to them. But it's someone in the insurance industry that could explain this better than anyone else.
Yeah, I agree with Alderwoman Smith. I think we need somehow to beat our drum here
We
to
do.
let our constituents know what we're doing here at City Hall, benefiting them directly in a financial way.
Yes,
Appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah, so whatever we can do to give you to get the word out, let's try to market that, I think, you
Yeah, I
know.
think somebody needs to take somebody from the mayor's office that may be over there, assign a marketing person to this and get this out into our community. It's something that we really do need to make sure that we do our best to make sure our residents understand this level. I mean, this is very incredible. I
And it's a
I
great-
didn't know that.
And it's a great selling point.
Yeah, it is.
And it adds
To
value
come
to
to
your
them, yeah.
homes and your commercial property.
Yeah, yeah, your insurance. So yes, but congratulations to you
Thank
for
you.
making this happen.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling it to attention. Appreciate that very much.
And that number 9 went to what year?
2000, we were adopting the 2000 code in 2003, so I think our evaluation occurred in either 2001 or 2002.
Yeah, okay.
Wow,
All right, yeah, thanks, good to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
wow.
Go
So-
ahead, Josh, sorry,
Oh, yeah.
we're interrupting you.
We got
No
a little-
worries
we got
at
a little
all.
Sidetracked on our accomplishments.
You're fine. We expect it. It's good. You get more information. Just so we can go over like Aurora's kind of current ones. I know we touched on this a little bit. We're presently on the 2015 series. So that's everything there, like it's building code, existing buildings, fire, fuel, gas, all these different segments. And then also the 2014 National Electric Code. It's from a slightly different organization. It's always a year previous. So when we say we're adopting like the 15, the electrical code's always 1 year earlier, just for reference on that. And then it comes with reference standards for sprinkler systems, alarms, everything like that. There are certain state mandated codes. Reason we're bringing these up is they're ones that none of us in our office can actively do anything about. So they're ones that we're usually just telling people, hey, here's what we're on. We do the best we can, but they're limited by the state. The state has its own plumbing code, which is all the way back to 2014. There's no plans to change that anytime that we're aware of. We're under a 2018 accessibility code and then a 2021 Illinois Energy Code. Illinois has gone ahead and modified the International Energy Code and made its own statewide one. So they use all the vernacular language out of it, but then they modify certain sections if they want to update the amount of insulation you need in a roof or a wall or something like that. So all of our inspectors get specific training on that every time one of those comes out, just so we can keep up to date and everything. And then we get modifications for our code book, so it's a little bit easier to use. So that's kind of where we stand at presently. Part of the requirements and the reason we're pressing this through, we already talked a little bit about the ISO on the right-hand side there. We're required to undergo this evaluation. Both John and I have been pushing them off a little bit. They've been asking for an evaluation for a little while, but we didn't want to do it until this was done, so we've been begging some time in order to get this implemented. The other component on the left-hand side there is the state of Illinois. I addressed it earlier. They are concerned that so many communities are falling so far behind that they're starting to require that each municipality is up to date within the last 2 code series, and if not, they're forcing them onto it basically. This started as of 1/1 of 2025. So technically right now, since we're still running under the 15, we are actually outdated and kind of not in compliance with this regulation. But because we're in the process of getting the adoption, they're fine and basically aren't concerned. We can continue to operate under the presumption that we're going to get this done. But that was one of the big driving factors in moving forward with this. Do those kind of both make sense as our kind of driving points there?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of project process and overview of everything. We do need kind of a clear action plan to move forward to get this done, as we were talking about. Staying up with the technology, making sure ISO's happy. And what this took as part of a project standpoint is that we're doing a full review of all of those books. So it's 10 books, a couple thousand pages. And the caveat is we can't just jump from 15 to 24. In between there's been the 2018 code series and the 2021 code series. So we sat down with each book, like the fire code book, look where we're at, what changed in 18, what was added, what changed and added in 21, what's changed and added in 24, because they all just keep applying unless they're in there. So we worked, and we'll go over a little bit here, both outside, internal, going through each one of these books and going through the whole process of where we're at with everything. As part of that, here's kind of our boards and commissions. We do have the Permanent Building and Fire Code Committee. So that's both the Building Code Board of Appeals and the Fire Code Board of Appeals. There's 5 members on one, 4 on the others. We have architects, engineers, contractors on all of those. The Electrical Commission is a separate body. Again, 5 members. We have architect, engineers, some contractors there. And then staff liaisons, I already did the 3. Our one missing one today. Cody Lake is our master code professional and one of our combination inspectors. He's expecting a little one tomorrow, so he's not here today, obviously getting some stuff ready to go. And then all of our inspection staff spent time going over their individual areas of contribution. I'm not going to read everybody's name here, but just as the reviewers for all the ICC components, so we want to give you names of obviously us as management staff, the building code committees, Our outside consultant for all the elevator items is Thompson Elevator Company, and then all of our inspection staff and kind of what areas they would have undertaken as part of the ICC components of the adoption. So those list out most of our inspectors. Then for the electrical one, again, it's management again, specific city staff that are just electrical. So our 2 combination and then 2 electrical inspectors that all do that. Then our electrical commission there, you will notice that Fire Chief Dave McCabe is also on there. That's a state mandate that the fire chief for the city has to be on the committee, and then the outside consultation. To kind of let you guys know where we've been at with this, we actually started this process very early in 23 with the expectations that we were going to be adopting the 21 code and moving this along earlier. As we got into it, we found that there were some concerns we had with the 21 code, and we're hearing from national groups that there were some items that weren't being well thought of or already being thought of for modifications in 24. And where we got with other processes with the state, we decided it was best, we're going to take a little more time and just do a full jump to 24, with also the long-term objective of, rather than doing this every like 9 years, 6 years, that if we can get to 24 now, a year later, we can start every 3 years adopting the next series. So for example, in 28, adopting 27, just so that we stay a little more current and we don't have to do quite as much legwork as we did this time going through 3 code cycles. So just kind of thought it was a more proactive approach to make one big jump now, to continue to make smaller jumps rather than 2 intermediate ones. And again, every one of our discipline went through for almost the rest of 23 and most of 24, evaluating all the different code areas, going through and figuring out where we were up to. I should point out that this was done outside of and in conjunction with normal working hours. So staff that was working on this was doing it when inspections, reviews were all done. Hey, if I've got an hour, if I've got 30 minutes, I'm doing this, trying to just kind of fit it into that regular role. Management and staff are doing outside time and everything like that, along with regular processes. This doesn't get to be carved out. Board reviews, once we got through all that stuff, did our documents, modifying the ordinances, identifying significant changes. We got all our boards together, gave them all the information in late 24, some time to digest stuff, and then started meeting in 2025. We did for, 3 months almost, maybe a little longer. We did 1 hour weekly, 3-hour meetings, once a week, 3-hour meetings every Friday with these different groups, going one book at a time, section by section, kind of going through changes, modifications, things that they had seen on the private side or interacting with our staff, things that they wanted to change, and modified it all through. They have reviewed and approved everything we presented, so the documents we threw in here also presented a wrap. All of them have gone through with quorums, looked at all the stuff, voted and approved it, and is the reason that we're able to kind of present it to you all at this point in time. So where we're going is kind of a summary of everything. We want to jump all the way to the 2024 I codes, 2023 electrical code, and all the reference standards. So that's kind of our objective. So we have a new base point, right, fresh, and then we can start doing the forward moving. State mandated codes, there are no changes, again, because we don't control any of them. And then we'll continue as a group to update you guys as state law requires us, or new adoptions, let us know we're moving to this, because again, it's usually all generated at the state level. They usually give us anywhere from 6 months to a year head start about compliance coming into with their requirements. Just some additional items and things like that, because there are some things that we've exempted from this for different reasons. Energy code items, because again, the state covers the energy code, we don't really get a lot of say on adopting or modifying it. That being said, just as an update, they just released about a month ago the fact that they've completed the 2024 Illinois Energy Code and are planning on making it adoptive November 30th of this year, basically telling us we have to do it. We always try and stay and comply with theirs. I can tell you from just walking through or being in our communities, we're always ones at the forefront in compliance, but that would also be because we are the largest body that can get audited by the state for code compliance. Chicago's exempted from all of it. We're next ones up. So when they're looking, if someone's applying to the plumbing code, if someone's applying the energy code, we're the biggest fish on the block that they can catch. So we've been audited several times to make sure that we're following along. So we plan on taking this step, but since it was a late announcement, and there's also the other component here of there's a stretch energy code that they've also presented in September of '24. We have not gone through the stretch energy code in this process yet because it was already significantly into us looking at the base codes. We didn't want to muddy the waters, and there's also a flexibility in the state energy code or the stretch code for different paths we can take. So we're having to craft a concept of which path is going to be better for Aurora, what are the pros and cons, so we can present it all to you to evaluate and kind of pick the actual course with the information we can give you. We just felt that since we've got the ISO rating, the state mandate on being on codes, we kind of needed to break these two things apart and figure it out as a separate component, get this one behind us, and then do the other one. It's also because the energy code isn't technically a life safety code, so it doesn't affect a lot of the components we were talking about earlier with ISO and stuff like that. The energy code probably has more of a long-term sustainability impact and also of cost of construction impact that we probably want to evaluate a little bit differently as we go forward.
And Josh, I'm glad this is on here because that was one of the questions that was going to be brought up. Now, as of last week, since we have a director of sustainability, are you going to be adding her into this council?
That would take we will, as part of a staff member, yes, they'll be there. But like as far as the boards or commissions, those are all kind of appointed and dictated by how ordinance is already set up.
Or do you guys meet as a staff?
Yes,
group,
correct.
too?
We'll meet as a staff
Will
and go over this, and they will be
she
included.
part of that?
Yep. Yes.
Great.
Yeah, covering all that, and then the evaluation comparison between all of them. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's great.
So we'll have that additional input and expertise as part of it.
And just so you know, her start date is anticipated towards the end of July as well.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so some of these items we expect, and obviously them having a little more expertise, we'll have already gone through, kind of laid things out, and then get that fill-in input, things we may have overlooked, things like that as we go through the evaluation. And again, we plan on presenting kind of both paths and our pros and cons to each and everything like that, and our proposal of what we think is the best moving forward, and then let you guys ultimately kind of decide which approach you prefer, if that makes sense on everything.
Thank you. Good.
I kind of stressed a little bit earlier, but on the other side, we've already gone through RAP and we've gotten approvals there. This BZE was for informational. Again, so you guys had some of this before you all of a sudden get inundated at Cal or council with it. And then what we're also doing is presently the overall code adoption is sitting at Cal. We're waiting for the property standards component of the code adoption to catch up so we can evaluate and implement it all at one time. Our objective is that on January 1st of 2026, this would all get implemented right in a nice clean cut date, makes it very clear to everybody. We didn't want to like stage one in and then another and then another. Not only is it hard for citizens, businesses to track, oh, what was what, it's also internally as we're evaluating a project or doing a case, we're like, oh, this one is this date, so it's this code here. It's just nice and clean and easy if we could put everything on one date for everybody. Yeah, that's it for it. Any more questions or anything like that?
Any questions to Josh?
I have a question.
Yes, Alderman.
Yeah, so just to get a better understanding regarding the application of codes, how do these changes in codes impact current structures versus new construction?
No problem. So, and I'm going to give two different responses as well. So, if you're a person applying, let's say in October of this year, right? It's October 15th, and you're still in review process and everything in January, we do not make you all of a sudden jump to the new codes if you've crossed that threshold. The point in time you apply, you are locked into that code. That way the design professional, construction pricing, everything has a very set standard. We don't like and don't think it's fair to all of a sudden make them change halfway through, because if you've already gotten partial approvals for us and you were like, trying to edit the dimensions on a bathroom, and we cross that threshold, and now I'm telling you, you got to go back and redesign the whole thing. It's completely unfair. So we set that one kind of standard date. The other component, I'm not sure this is what you intended, but just as another thought process, anything that's an existing building or something that was built before or that is older, thanks to a lot to John, my expertise, and other staff, we're area experts, I'd say even national experts, in the International Existing Building Code, which is part of the component we're adopting here. It provides various methods of looking at the buildings that are existing, especially thinking downtown, things like that, and evaluating and giving them either point systems or areas of work and other things where you do not have to come into complete compliance with brand new building codes. It is not really feasible, it's not manageable, it's a standard that doesn't help economic development drive in any way. So what this gives is basically a baseline of this building was this safe when you did it. You're modifying this and this. We want that brought up to code, but basically the rest of it is either close enough, or if you're a little short in like the point system or something, we're going to ask you to fully alarm this building now so that anyone that's in it gets notification if there's a fire in it. You don't have to fully sprinkle it, but we got to get alarms. Or there's other areas like a work area method where if you're not touching the apartments on the second and third floor, that's fine, they can stay. But if you're putting a restaurant in on the first floor, you now have to properly separate that area from the others. So mechanical systems, fire ratings, all that have to be properly done. So it kind of allows us to address that existing building stock and do a lot more with it.
I just wanted to highlight something that was asked at RAP that is a good example of direct application of this. So as part of our new construction changes that we're proposing, we're dropping our sprinklering threshold from 12,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet. So a very reasonable question that came from one of your colleagues was, what is that going to mean to a restaurant? And it is a bifurcated answer like Josh just provided. The sprinkler threshold out of the code for a restaurant is 5,000 square feet or 100 people. So we're not reducing it lower than what that standard is for a restaurant. In addition to that, for an existing building, the way we've applied the existing building code, which I actually appreciate the opportunity to highlight this. We get asked in national forums to talk about how we apply the existing building code. The building you're looking at right here has piqued interest in people from many states, actually, through some of our presentations. It's a 3-story building with 1 exit, and it's not sprinklered. And people on the East Coast were amazed to figure out how we solved this. It's solved with this existing building code performance method, which is a trade-off method. We've created more fire separation than was required, the minimum requirement. So basically what you do in this performance method study, the existing building code it adds 5 more ways to solve the puzzle to allow you to solve that particular puzzle the way that benefits you the most. Okay? The performance method is what we do on most of the gut rehabs, and it's essentially a safety benchmarking tool. You'll do a study and find out, okay, it's short an exit, it's short this. What can I do to improve the things that I already am going to pay for, or I can over-improve those areas to offset the fact that I can't afford to get the extra stair here as an example. This building's so small, it's sat empty for better than 30 years because no one could figure out how to solve this without the extra stair and also probably without a sprinkler system. But if they carved up a stair here, they were going to eat up like probably a sixth to a fifth of the floor plate that was already too small to begin with. And no one could justify the cost to remodel the building. That's why that building sat for so long. And until we embraced this idea and started, frankly, teaching it, and now we're teaching it nationally, that's what's allowing some of these things to occur in our downtown that have sat vacant for a long time. And it's not that everything doesn't get sprinklered. It literally is, we're going to solve this puzzle in a way that benefits that particular structure in its most beneficial way, with the design professional and the code official agreeing that this is in fact safe enough for that particular building. So you're giving credit to the building for the safety features it has. Maybe it's got great fire compartmentation already. sometimes on one-story buildings, another way to solve these things without sprinklers or without some of the other costly additions is you add exits. If you're on a single-story building and you can add exits, that will give you extra points in the analysis. So this is something I would love to show everyone what we do. There's actually some PowerPoint presentations on our webpage that you're happy to look at, just like anyone else from the public, on what we do for this. And another thing I'd love to promote more, because we frankly need more design professionals that will do this and approach us to do this before they design the project in a manner that doesn't presume that we will allow this. So, anyway, sorry.
I have another question. How do we, as a council and a community, know and feel comfortable that some of what I would call homegrown amendments that we've been adopting for the last several decades are kept in terms of continuity from one building code variation to the other? And I'll give you examples, 2 examples. We required today 2-car garages and two independent parking spaces out front. We didn't do that prior to 1986 or 87, whenever it was we adopted it. And so, but since that time, we've made sure, and including townhomes too, and 2 units, that is part of the building code, number 1. I would say number 2 is what you and I worked on, John, several years ago. We require now, when townhomes are built, that they have to have independent water meters. They can't have one whole building with a water meter, and then that's going to be, the water amount is going to be part of the monthly assessment, driving up people's assessments where they should really be looking at their water bill and conserving water that way. And we changed that together there. So you understand what I mean is, how can we be sure that, because this is a voluminous document, that all these things that we've been doing for the last 40 years, and I use that in particular because I've sponsored a lot of amendments, that we can be comfortable that it's moving forward and people are protected in the way that we wanted to.
Yeah, so during our brief discussion at COW last cycle, I mentioned that I had just posted red lines for all of these code books to the item that's being held at Committee of the Whole. So those red lines are there. It shows what's been stricken and what's being added, and I'd be happy. Some of the times, like as an example, when we bring the IPMC forward, we're striking a bunch of things from the fire code related stuff. Well, there's an example where we knew what the newer codes were doing, where they were heading, and we added it into our local adoption when we adopted it because we thought they were smart things. They're now part of the code, and we don't have to keep them in there because they're already stated in the code. Okay. So we're making those evaluations at staff level, explaining them to the committees when we're going through at committee, but I think it's important that we share with you, what's being changed and not changed. We may not all have the history that perhaps you and I have, but obviously we'd like to, anyone that has any questions about those kind of things, please bring them forward and we'll either explain that it's being covered in a different way, maybe it got moved in a code book, or perhaps it's something that we need to amend as you all are considering the adoption.
So once that goes, the memory goes, is that what you're saying?
I know mine is starting to.
And yeah, the red lines will be really helpful because we tried to take directly the ordinance out and then demonstrate anything that was getting struck, or if it was getting moved somewhere else, because there were items that make more sense in different areas now because of the way the code's been rewritten. So slotting them in different areas makes more sense for someone reading it where it should go cohesively. There was a lot of cleanup we did. We felt that there was excessive references to general admin standards and things like that about how the department should operate that were in each and every book, which made it, we found discrepancies on how it was adopted, so they were incorrect in different areas, and it's more to maintain. So you'll notice some stuff, especially early on in each one of them, where there's a lot of heavy striking. That's because we're trying to remove and clean all that up so that it's just in one area in the future. And again, that way when you guys get these documents 3 years from now, rather than looking at 12 pages of ordinance items, maybe it's down to like 6 or something because we've cleaned it up and it's a little more succinct, so you're not having less chance of stuff being missed, being dropped in transition, everything like that.
Yeah, that was my question about things being missed and dropped. And if somebody's not around to monitor it, well, the next generation of people who were in your positions whether you understand what we did and have the continuity continued, that's my question.
And
I
understand
don't have
why.
an answer.
Well, we spent, during our deliberations, we spent a lot of time talking about history and how things came to be.
Sure.
Yes.
So we are diligently trying to make sure that
good.
doesn't happen, so that no one gets surprised
I
that
appreciate
something's
that.
been stricken, especially unintentionally.
Yeah.
And then if there is a change, that we highlight it at least for your
Yeah, okay.
benefit when you're considering.
Thank you.
And just for an operational standpoint too, Alderman Seville, what we kind of did this time, because technology's advanced a lot since our last adoption, we have an active group both on our server and teams where we're keeping all these documents kind of like housed. And then as we're noting going through, when John brings up a history item or something like that, what's there, then we've kind of isolated this code adoption process to the side. That way when we start 27, we'd be able to go back and reference, hey, here's all the notations. What was the reason that this was done in 24? It's all kind of housed there. And that's kind of our plan of action going forward, is to keep having these reference historical documents more saved, because it's so much easier digital now than it was before when we had to do
I could
paper
go back to
copies.
1985 if you like. Truly, I do have everything in records. If you need that information, let me know.
Well, we could certainly keep that in mind for,
Okay.
but we don't want to store it at our place.
But you can digitize it.
Yeah, you digitize it, that'd be great.
Well,
Yeah, and I have a question. When they want remodeling, especially the old buildings, the old second ward, we have a lot like that. When they're asking for the permit, and they told you what they really want to do. So you giving a list, what they're supposed to fix, or what they're supposed to have? Because I have a lot of residents very upset. I'm saying upset, because when they go, the inspectors say, oh, now they ask me for sprinkles. Now they ask me for alarms. So they didn't tell me that before. So now they want me to spend more money. So get upset. So what is the process in that? Especially, because on 50th Street, 50th and Clark, they have like a little strip mall in there.
Mhm.
I think it's empty all right now. And it's the reason why, because he didn't fix what he's supposed to fix. But he's very upset. And they say they never explained me exactly what I have to do.
Yeah, so, well, that shouldn't happen. I agree with you. If that's occurring, that we need to do better. What commonly happens when a complaint like this happens, and I'd love to have the opportunity to explain what happened on case-by-case basis all the time.
Yeah.
This happens, it's not infrequent that this happens. But the remodeling permits that have any complexity to them are supposed to be prepared by a design professional who understands the codes, and then presented to us for review. One of the things, and actually this existing building code that we've garnered this expertise for, in some ways it complicates things, because if you go to some of our neighboring communities that don't use this tool, it's a very simple answer for them. If you're remodeling a building, I recall a secondhand clothing store that was affiliated with a church that wanted to go in a rectory, and one of our neighboring communities upriver told them, if you do anything in the building, you are going to sprinkler that building, end of story, period, not going to talk about it beyond that. Nothing happened. And literally that architect came to visit us after hours. Herman Dan and I sat with him for an hour to like 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night, and he was absolutely amazed at the difference between the two communities, that we were willing to sit there and talk about his project, different project, obviously. But what our flexibility does is it allows different answers, but we need help to get to those answers that benefit the people the best. And they need to engage someone, one, who's willing to use the tools. We have some local architects, unfortunately, who don't want to do this. And just quite unfortunately, we've been working on a couple of them, but they haven't budged. So if someone engages, we've got actually right across the street from this, we have a great, fantastic restaurant that we could have helped them find a slightly different and less expensive solution for. Mm-hmm. That design professional was engaged
Yes.
already by the time we ever had the discussion, and it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to have the opportunity. So the flexibility
It's-
unfortunately creates a little bit more ambiguity on what the solution might be, but we need the design professional to help us find the best solution with the owner. So expecting, if you would be happy to go through with anybody, the process that we go through. The initial process we go through with this existing building code studies for the performance method at least, it's a 2.5-hour meeting generally with an architect and the owner so that everyone understands where this could go and everyone's making decisions on the fly as best we can. That's really the best we can do without
Yeah.
literally taking over the whole project and becoming their architect, which means we're going to neglect our other responsibilities, and there's also some liability stuff that
Yes.
probably the city would not want to engage with either. But
Thank you.
it is complex, but the definition of the project really is supposed, the way the industry is set up and the way the codes are set up, it's supposed to be defined by a design professional, not by the city. One of the other things that happens frequently is someone wants us to send our inspectors out to figure out what needs to happen. Well, what I just described to you, it's taken several of us years to learn these tools, and there is no one on our staff, despite all the credentialing that I've talked about and bragged about with our staff. You can't walk through the building and say, you're going to have to do this, this, and this, because there's a variety of answers that one might be better than the other. And with several of us that have done this, we could basically say, yeah, I think we can get to here, but we've got to go through the process and figure out if, in fact, we can get it to pass.
Yeah.
So it is complex. I don't like hearing that when it occurs. And we're not infallible. If we've made mistakes, we will apologize for the mistakes and acknowledge them to you guys and to the mayor's office when they occur. But generally, what's happened when that's the case is we didn't start the project out in a well enough footing on the private side with a set of documents that have defined the project before they even talk to us.
Are they told up front, like an introductory, say, there is built-in ambiguity here that we'd be flexible to listening to, that gives you room to maneuver, so they understand that concept? Because it sounds like, and I talk to architects and engineers too, they're expecting you got to do this, this, and this, period, across the board. And when there's this ambiguity,
Yeah, that's the way the
do
industry.
they understand that?
They do, and in fact, if you look carefully at our IEBC adoption this time, so because we present on this so frequently, and because it took years to get this kind of off the ground, to get people to use it more, for a decade and a half, we've known this is a tool, it will help our downtown, I need more people to use this tool. You might recall in the past, we've come to you and asked for funding for teaching local architects how to use this tool. We've done that 3 or 4 times in the last decade and a half. The reason for that is we need more people to participate, understand that we will do this so that they can use it. And we have gotten a lot more traction, thankfully. It took a long time to get it off the ground. But one of the, I think, like best practices that we've been espousing when we teach this is to have this meeting that I was just talking about on the front end. And frankly, we need to talk about it as often as we can to make sure that the business engages with someone who's willing to use this tool. Because again, if they engage with someone who's not, then we're stuck. Basically, they took, out of the quiver of arrows of 6 solutions on the back, they might only be choosing one, and it's because the design professional that they engaged is unwilling to use the other 5. And there's not much we can do about it. We need a stamped set of drawings from somebody to present to us for a permit to be reviewed.
So how long they take it to have a permit when the people apply?
How long does it take?
How long they take? Because
So
we have some concerns. The other guy came here for 3 months, 4 months.
Well, they weren't under review for 3 or 4 months without us replying. So we have a very regimented system.
Yep.
Our complex remodeling permits at the most would take 3 weeks for us to review. Most of them take only 2. So then what happens is we'll reply back, and then the architect, engineer, perhaps, depending on what the issue is, would revise things, get it back to us. Our re-review cycle is a week.
Okay.
So we have so one of the things when anyone's complaining about timeframes, that's exactly what we do. We say, okay, it came in here, it went out there, It came back in here, it went out there, and generally we're explaining to the, perhaps an owner, perhaps a tenant, that I understand it looks from your seat like it was 9 months. The city was responsible for 1 month of that time frame. And we would explain, our commitment was this. We, if sometimes they'll say we missed it by a day or we missed it by 2 days, and acknowledge where we were slow. But it takes a whole team to do this, and there are people on the private sector side, both design professionals and contractors, who sometimes don't want to own up to the parts of the project that they own or the time frame that they own. So we explain what happened, and that in the end, that's all I can do is explain. Here's exactly what happened, and we'll, if we had any issues, we'll own up to the issues we had.
When is when they don't need a permit? When they want to do inside something in the house, if it's under, I'm saying $1,000, they still need a permit for that?
Actually, at Committee of the Whole, there was a reference from Alderman Masiacos, where he wanted us to look at something, and there is a passage in the building code that has, it has exemptions for types of work that do not require permits, so it specifies there's probably a dozen and a half, maybe 24 items that are laid out that do not require permits. In addition to that, we also locally have added a dollar threshold. What he's asked us to do is look at the dollar threshold because it has not changed in a while, and he's right, it hasn't. So we're going to analyze where we end up with that threshold and bring it back to you guys
That's
before
good,
we get
yeah,
to
because
comment.
sometimes they need to change, I don't know if they, in exterior, if they need to replace a window or replace a door. So right now, they need a permit. No?
It depends. So,
But it's what
so
I'm
as-
saying. Especially, well, if it's historical district, I understand. It's totally
yeah.
another.
So, yeah, if you're in a historical district,
Yes,
there's
but
another
like a
another part.
regular house, I'm
Yeah.
saying in Second Ward. So they want to
Correct.
replace the windows, or they want
Correct.
to
So
replace the door.
We don't.
So,
We currently are not mandating window replacement permits unless you're in a historic district. You got to get a certificate of appropriateness, or unless you're changing the window size. So
oh,
here-
okay, if they want to make bigger size.
bigger or smaller potentially, because windows.
So
act-
any change, and
if
if
it's
they want to
changing-
change the structure,
If it's
you mean?
changing in size, you're going to get an answer that yes, you need a permit.
Okay.
So there are reasons that would have to be that. Patrick's. I have nothing. No.
Yeah, 'cause- yeah, this is the question they make so much in the neighborhood meetings. They want to replace the windows and they want to replace the door, and they say, why I have to need a permit for that? I don't know if they want to change the structure, they want to put it maybe adding bricks or something, so they need a permit.
Yeah, if they're changing the structure of the home, so if they're putting in a larger window, what we're concerned about is did they frame it correctly? Did they change the structure correctly? If they're making it smaller, our question is going to be more along the lines, have you reduced the size of the window that it can no longer act as your secondary means of egress from a bedroom or from living space in the house? So both of those things we should be paying attention to, and we historically have not required window permits except for those exceptions.
Okay.
So
If the materials, so that I mean, if they want to put a different kind of door, they have like a good material, and now they want to put like a metal, so there's a concern with that, or no?
No, that would,
No?
again, unless you're in a historic district for some reason, it's a primary facade, we would care about it, otherwise, no. As long as the size is not changing.
Okay.
Alderman
Good.
Smith.
So I just want to add to what you were talking about a few minutes ago, because I've had a couple experiences with you guys where residents have come and says, oh my gosh, what's going on with the permit department? I can't get my permit passed. It's been there forever, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what they're doing. They come out here, they say one thing, they do another. As I have gone through this with you guys, and this has occurred, indeed what happens often, and I think it's really important for our new aldermen to understand as well, is you will get things out in a timely manner, but then you send them back to the architect or the engineer. Well, they sit on them for 2 weeks before they get it back to the resident, and then they get it to the resident, and by the time it comes back to you, they may not have done everything. So there is a lot of back and
Yeah.
forth going on that makes it look like you're sitting on it. And I have also experienced that the architect and the engineer tend to blame it on the permitting department versus saying, I sat on it for 2 weeks and you only did part of the project, now it's got to go back and forth yet again, which adds another month. So there often is an explanation for the permitting length and period of time, and if you just got to ask these guys, because they've
Yeah,
got
no,
it.
I guess the one thing I would ask of our elected officials, if you're getting that kind of complaint, we really try hard to communicate with everyone. We've set up a system where you will get automatic communication from us when reviews are completed, when inspections are done. And we do find that we're too frequently having to ask the contractors whom are filling out the permit work generally to give us the information for the owner. So the first, if I were sitting in your seat, the first thing I would ask the constituent is, are you getting information from the building permit process directly? And if not, ask them to share their contact information with us so that we can communicate with them directly. It helps cut out some of the protectionism kind of stuff that might happen for someone protecting their own reputation, and just not
Yeah.
disclosing perhaps everything that might be going
Right.
on.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Weeks turn into months sometimes, yes, very quickly.
Yes.
Thank you.
I-
This has been
I
awesome.
sent the owner of the Little Street Mall, because they talking about Jesse. I said, no, you go and make appointment with John Curley, please.
Okay.
And talk to him, yes.
Did you finish?
Jesse will be
Josh?
good too. We'll help him.
Did you finish your presentation?
Yeah, I'm all good.
All right.
All right.
I see
Great.
Patrick is there. Do you have anything
Well,
to
we're
add?
proud of what you guys have accomplished, and it's just wonderful to hear this from you
Yeah.
guys. So we
Yeah,
definitely
we
need to
need to
make
toot
sure
our
that-
horn.
Yeah,
you.
we're tooting your horn, which toots our horn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we need to
Yeah, so.
make sure we're letting
So
the
where
world
does this
know.
go from here then?
Well, it's going to be at Committee of the Whole. The IPMC adoption is, we're going to try and catch the IPMC adoption, which sounds like it's going to end up being at wrap in like a month's time, to then hit a cycle and catch up at Committee of the Whole,
Okay.
and then run through at that time. So it's probably going to be, we'll be talking about it at Committee of the Whole probably in August is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, late August, September.
So all those red lines are posted, so if there's anyone in the interim that wants to talk
Posted
about.
where?
Yeah.
Posted where?
Oh, I'm sorry. So the item that's sitting at Committee of the Whole has red lines, with the exception of the property maintenance code and the housing regulations, because we're still ironing that out.
Okay.
But we'll have that up shortly.
Okay.
Right. Thank
Any
you.
further discussion? And this is just for informational, so there's no action taken
Correct.
at this point in time. Is that correct?
Thank you,
All
everyone.
right, thank you, I
Okay,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. That was a good discussion, committee. Thank you. So anything other than this to bring?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Motion been made by Alderwoman Garza, second by Alderman Smith. All in favor, say aye for adjournment. Opposed, motion carried 5-0. We are adjourned, and it is 5:10 PM. Thank you, one and all.